Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News at the South Florida Conservative News Center. Friday night, you don't get us here at night, February 20th, 7 p.m., to calm your fears about Trump and the tariffs, what the Supreme Court said, and the lies, open lies that the media is involved in, which is par for the course. And we're going to talk about that now. The Supreme Court decision on presidential tariff authority. The misleading coverage is, like I said, the bad part of it because it was designed for a reason, which we'll maybe talk about in a little bit. Depends what the lawyer tells me in the next 10 minutes. And why President Trump just announced new tariffs anyway. So, to get the record straight before somebody tells you differently, in late 2026, February, the Supreme Court ruled that President Trump's, meaning the 20th, by the way, that President Trump's sweeping global tariffs, the ones he imposed by declaring a national emergency, were not authorized under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA. The court held that that initial group simply does not give the president the power to impose broad import taxes without specific congressional authorization, which is a power of the Constitution vets in the Congress. Now, here's when it all comes apart. Most media outlets have framed this as if the tariffs themselves are gone, and even more misleadingly, that Americans will now have to pay back every dollar collected under Trump's tariff regime. And that is not what the Supreme Court said, and it's not what the law requires. The court's decision struck down the use of a specific statute, the IEEPA, as the basis for the tariff authority. It did not rule that tariffs can never be applied. It did not rule that the government must automatically reimburse foreign nations or U.S. businesses for all tariff revenue. Those are hot takes. They are not legal conclusions. Anybody else would probably get sued over it, but it's the American media. What companies may do if they choose to sue is seek refunds on a case by case basis for tariffs they paid that were supported by any unlawful statutory authority. Now, that is considered routine administrative law, not a blanket refund everything. That is a misuse of Justice Kavanaugh's dissent. He probably shouldn't have put that in there, but I guess he didn't know which way to go. And he did. I don't think there was malice. I think it was just an aha, let's run with this because he was one of Trump's appointees. So some media have amplified that dissent about potential consequences, as I said, into an exaggerated government bailout narrative. That is a mismatch between legal nuance and political fear mongering. Part of this was they were trying to freeze or knock down the current recovery in the stock market. They are trying to bust the economy. That is the point of this whole thing. And here's the part the media often leaves out. Right after the ruling, President Trump announced he would reimpose the tariffs anyway, but under a completely different statutory authority. According to multiple reports, including Trump himself, he has moved to enact a 10% global tariff using Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974, which is a law that does allow the president to impose temporary tariffs to address large and serious balance of payments deficits. So the playbook now looks like this. The Supreme Court said one specific emergency law, IEEPA, cannot be used for sweeping tariffs. Okay. The administration responded by shifting to a different law that does grant tariff authority, not a loophole, but a different statutory tool. That means the tariffs are still in effect, just under a different legal framework, which also would affect the whole we're going to get our money back because then we would just take it back again under this tariff, right? This confirms what critics of the original ruling had warned. The decision constrains only one mechanism of trade action, does not eliminate the presidential tariff authority entirely. This is or was brought into court basically as an attack against Trump and Trump's idea to kickstart the United States manufacturing segment. Okay, so to recap, the Supreme Court limited how tariffs were imposed, not whether tariffs can exist. Media narratives about mass paybacks are inflated and do not reflect how the law actually works. It is fear mongering. It was trying to topple the stock market, which it did not do because most of the stock market people, unlike the Democrats in Congress, read the documents coming out of the Supreme Court and knew where this was going. President Trump's next move, imposing a new tariff under a different legal authority, shows that the tariff agenda didn't end, it just shifted channels. This is an important lesson in how legal nuance is too often flattened into dramatic headlines. This was done to terrorize the United States citizenry. It was done to try to stall the American economy because the Democrats in Congress are, we need to take control at any cost. They would rather crater the United States economy. And they're saying, oh, prices are up a little bit. Yeah, because now factories are being built. I blame a little, not a little bit. I'll go a third of the problem here. Trump's there's a bureau that handles all the new industries and everything. They should be putting out documents all the time. But if they do put them out on their website, or they do send news press releases to the media just doesn't cover it, so you don't know about it. And this is an important lesson, like I said. Our job here is to give you both sides of the story so you can decide what's real and what's spin. So that's basically all that's going on there. Do not go out and start hiding your canned vegetables or whatever. Things have not changed. The people that are attacking the government are Democratic members of the Congress and the people that pay the Democratic members of the Congress to be there. If you look at who is really usually named in this case, I believe, was Canada and Mexico. So surprise on that, right? The one you don't see out in front, but is the major player behind the curtain, and anybody will tell you, is the People's Republic of China. They are getting crushed during this. And anybody who's in the United States and is excited with the idea of perhaps getting a better paying job, you should be behind what Trump is doing. Tariffs are rough on us for a little while, but the problem is it should show you, and it scared me, how little we actually made in the United States. The medicines, the steel, electronics products, all that shit was being made in China. People are telling you they have problems with medicine. Well, it doesn't mean the Chinese are giving you the full quality, does it? No, it doesn't. So take that whole thing with a grain of salt. That's where it is. If you don't believe me, look it up yourself. You can go to our written documents, which is at www.southfloridaconservative.com. We list them on there as far as I recall. It's also on the Substack, and that will ease all your fears. We already knew they were going to do this. It was just very ballsy of Trump to then go say, I'm going to put 10 more percent on top of it just because he is now punishing the bosses of the Democratic Congress members. If anything else, that's what he's doing. You want to have your Democratic congressmen that are under our payroll out there in the field trying to crush the American manufacturing that is starting to come out. Well, then you get 10% more tariff on you. So that's all that's going on there. Enjoy your weekend, and I will talk to you later on. Have a good night.